Had a last minute impromptu meeting with some top executives of my company, and it was really cool just hearing their insight on a project that's being worked on, and having that mindset of excellence. And they actually touched on a few of the points of paying attention to the details and components like that are absolutely amazing. So it was cool to see in action some of the topics of the motivational minutes being addressed unbeknownst to them as they were having their conversation and picking apart a project that is being worked on. So that was pretty awesome. It's amazing to see the fruit of a motivational minute executed with someone who's not involved in the motivational minute, which reinforces that these thoughts, these concepts, these ideas that I am portraying to everybody are those thoughts, concepts, and ideas of those who are successful. So it was really cool just seeing that and experiencing that today. Anytime I'm in the midst of my senior level executives, it reinvigorates my passion for greatness and reinvigorates my passion for success and my passion for doing things right and taking things to that next level when it comes to doing it right and making it happen. I'm at a stoplight so I can talk. Hello, Dad. Thank you for joining. I appreciate it. I do appreciate it. But let's go ahead and get started. Today's motivational minute is on communication. Now, I kind of touched on communication in the listening motivational minute and in the mentorship motivational minute, but just wanted to expound on it a little further. When it comes to communication, just because you think you're a great communicator doesn't mean that you're a great communicator. Some factors that you have to keep in mind when it comes to being a good communicator is when I say something, does the recipient, does the person hearing what I have to say have enough, 1, background knowledge, and 2, current knowledge, and 3, am I descriptive enough in what I'm about to say to make sure that my thought comes across clearly? Now, in the midst of a conversation, we're thinking on the fly, we're trying to process on the fly, and we're trying to get our statement out there, get our words, or have our side of the story heard. But in the midst of good communication comes detail. In the midst of good communication comes descriptors. In the midst of good communication is also asking someone, is what I'm saying clear? Because oftentimes we're in a conversation and someone asks us to do something and then we do it and then we didn't hear it correctly because it may not have been communicated correctly for us to understand what it is that's being communicated. But communication is a two-way street. So if someone is communicating something to you, then it's your job to ask clarifying questions if there's any chance or any possibility it was meant by the communicator. So as you're going through, if your boss or if your teacher or if your parents ask you to clean the room and you go and you clean the room based on how you expected or thought to clean the room, and then they come back and your parents come back later and say, I thought I asked you to clean the room, you look around and say, well, I did. And then there's a disconnect in the communication because what you understood from that person to be done, to be completed, wasn't what they intended for you to understand. And then there's a disconnect, and then it causes confusion. So when it comes to communication, if, say, your parents say, oh, I need you to clean your room, and you had the first time it happened, you didn't have enough clarity, you didn't understand what they were communicating, then the next time they say it, then you need to ask clarifying questions. To ask questions of, is there a certain way you would like it cleaned? Is there a certain thing that you would like done? Let me actually relate this to work. If you're in work or if you're in school and your boss asks you for a financial report and you provide the financial report, but you didn't ask questions to see what was what was priority, what was necessary to have in the financial report, what was something that you didn't need to have, who was it for, is there anything that we need to omit, or is there information that I need to fulfill this? That gives you the ability to make sure that in the process of that communication, you're getting a clear understanding of what the expectation is. I guess part of this communication motivational minute is about expectation, because when you communicate, if you don't know the expectation, when you're hearing something that's being communicated to you, you may not complete the task at hand based on how someone is asking for it to be done. And that's the challenge of life. That's the challenge of communication. We're human. So since we're human, we say things, and we think we say things, or we think we communicate correctly, or we think we explain correctly. But many times in communication, especially if we're the one giving the directive, we have to be comfortable in telling people the why. When something is being communicated, when we tell someone something, we have to be comfortable telling them why it should be done, or why we need it done. Now, I'm old school. So when someone asks you to get something done, especially if it's your boss, your parents, someone of authority, I'm old school. I do it because they're asking me to do it. Now, sometimes I would ask, what is this for, or what is the significance of it? But because I'm old school, and that's how I was brought up, and that's how I was raised, that is how my mindset works. But nowadays, the new generation, the millennials, oftentimes need more of an explanation on something to understand their purpose, to understand the impact of what they're doing and how they're doing it and why they're doing it, to understand the bigger picture. Because as me, yes, I'm a millennial, but as I said, I'm old school. I'm able to understand the bigger picture by the task that's being given to me. And when it's communicated to me and I knock it out of the park and then I ask questions later, I'm able to really see how the world of what I'm working on works. But changing times comes for changing of how we communicate and how we look at things. And in doing so, and in communicating differently and understanding differently, when we communicate something to anyone, we need to be able to explain the why. And we need to be ready for that, so that way people have a sense of understanding of what is at stake. Now, with communication, again, it's a two-way street. Communication also goes hand in hand with the listening motivational minute that I did a couple days ago. When you're listening adequately and you communicate, that means you're communicating in the moment. That means you're listening to what is being said and you're responding to what is being said, as opposed to in your own head and not fully comprehending what someone is communicating to you. So communication, with it being a two-way street, that is where you really have to take the time to analyze how you're communicating to people. If you're communicating to someone and they don't understand what you're saying, they don't get your stories, they don't get your explanations, they don't understand why you do a certain thing or why you said a certain thing. Remember, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, getting the same result. So you need to look at your communication skills, your communication style, how you communicate, why you communicate, what you say, how you put the words together. Are you communicating too quickly before you have time to think through an answer? Are you taking too long to think through an answer, and as you communicate, it looks like you can't make a decision? And if you're getting similar results with the different people that you're talking to, with the different segments of individuals that you are having communication with, that you're having conversation with, and if you're getting weird looks or people don't understand or continually asking you to repeat yourself, then I challenge you to step it out and really analyze your communication skills, how you're communicating, what you're communicating, and how you're coming across. And maybe with your communication, the issue is your tone. Maybe you don't realize that you're being rude as you're communicating, and to you it seems perfectly fine because that's how you normally communicate. Again, if people are getting annoyed when they talk to you, or if people aren't listening to you when you're talking, or if people aren't understanding what you're trying to tell them, then maybe it's you need to work on your communication as opposed to them working on their listening. Now, we can't change people at all. We can only encourage them to be different and encourage them to think differently and talk differently and communicate differently. But in that two-way street of communication, there's always our part. And if you're willing to do your part in the midst of communication, then that shows that you are willing to get to that next level of success because you are willing to work on you. A lot of my motivational minutes just reside around the component of you working on you in areas of your life that are not where you want them to be, or at the success level that you want them to be, or at the effectiveness that you want them to be. Life is about working on yourself. It's the iron sharpening iron. It's doing those little things that no one else wants to do, or doing those things that only very few people are doing, and the few people that are doing it are those who are successful. So when it comes to communication, I really challenge you to step it out and analyze how you communicate to your family, to your friends, to your parents, to your coworkers, to your boss, to your senior level executives. And as you analyze your communication, look at the results that you are getting within each time you have a line of communication that doesn't go the way that you expect it to go. And if the conversation's not going how you expect it to go, or if you are not understanding correctly based on how someone is explaining something, get comfortable asking questions. Get comfortable clarifying. Get comfortable even asking, does this make sense to you? Do you understand what it is that I'm after? And then ask the person that you're asking that question to reiterate and to say what they understand. Because here's the thing, if someone can say what they understand for you to mean, then you both are on the same page. At work, sometimes I don't understand what my boss is asking me for, and I'll ask a clarifying question. Or I'll say, you know what, if I'm understanding you correctly, this, and this is what you want. Now, if he says, yep, that's it, go for it, I'm good. I can go, I can complete the project, I can have fun with it, and then I'm good. But if I don't ask those questions, then I go into a continual loop of not having an understanding when something is said to me. It's okay in workforce, in school, to ask clarifying questions. It's okay to say, you know what? That last component that you just mentioned to me, I don't really understand what you're looking for. Can you explain it further? And as you start to learn who someone is, as you start to grow in a relationship with your boss or with your teacher or with your friends, you start to really understand what it is they're looking for or asking you for, so that way you can start asking less and less clarifying questions because you understand their point, you understand how they communicate, and you understand their dialogue. So I really challenge you, as I wrap this motivational minute up, to work on your communication. And in the midst of communication, if you don't understand something that is being said, that is being done, ask those clarifying questions so that as you grow in a relationship with the person or the people that you're communicating with, you'll have a continually better and better understanding of what the expectations are, what you need to provide, and how you need to communicate to them to make sure they know that you know what you're doing and that you've got it going on. This has been a Motivational Minute from Daniel. I do appreciate everyone who has signed on. As per the usual, I am driving, so I apologize for not being able to welcome everybody on or answer any questions. But for future Motivational Minutes, tune in here on Periscope at Words Bring Life. If you'd like to direct message me if you have speaking engagements for youth, for teens, for entry-level employees, for college students, let me know. I'm the guy for you. I want to be there to motivate and help your team, your people, the people that are within your leash to be able to grow and to be able to be the best that they can be based on little things that they can tweak within themselves. Today's Motivational Minute was on communication. Remember, words bring life. Speak them into existence. Have a wonderful night, and I'll see you tomorrow. Thank you for joining.